Wardens, my Lord Mayor, my Lords, Aldermen, Sheriffs, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 23rd World Traders Tacitus Lecture, and a particular welcome to our guest speaker, Mr Donald Brydon. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor, Alderman Nick Anstey, and at the same time it seems most appropriate that I also take this opportunity to present you, sir, with a cheque for your charitable appeal, Perfect Pitch.
Master, Wardens, my Lord, fellow Aldermen, Sheriffs, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome you all to the World Traders Annual Tacitus Lecture, which has, over the past 2 decades, become such a prominent feature of the city's calendar. Now, as Lord Mayor of London, I support and promote all UK-based financial and professional services, regardless of nationality or ownership. I'm also head of the livery movement. There are 108 livery companies, some of which were founded more than 500 years ago, and others, like the World Traders, in the late 20th century. Because of our interest in the financial city, Lord Mayors are great supporters of many of the modern livery companies and the Financial Services Group, who give relevant support to the work of the Lord Mayor in his overseas visits. Thank you very much to the sponsors, the London Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Commercial Education Trust, and Sheikh Hamid Ahmed Al Hamid. The theme of this evening is threats from a breakdown in trust. We in the city have been through an interesting time. To begin with, we fool ourselves if we do not realise that trust has fundamentally broken down between the British public and the city. Not just domestic banking, but the city. Thus, my first concern is to help restore that trust, to help re-establish a workable social contract between citizens and the financial services industry. Things have changed. We have to be better at explaining what we do and explaining why it matters, not just for money-making for ourselves, but for society and its future. Banks and a strong financial services industry matter enormously to the real economy, both to individuals and to businesses. We need to demonstrate their value to people across the UK. And at the same time, we need to show that we have learned lessons of the financial crisis, undertaking reforms where necessary, not punitive but measured, and through full engagement with Europe. I repeat what I've been saying since I took office. There can be no more business as usual. There is a sustained groundswell of public anger. It has to be addressed. The industry must not forget, any more than the rest of us, that our licence to operate depends on being accepted as socially useful, as well as being economically and fiscally desirable. Now to our speaker, Donald Brydon, whose illustrious career in financial services and in business will be familiar to many of you. Among his current appointments, Donald is chairman of the London Metal Exchange, which today does over 90% of the world's non-ferrous metal trading on its historic trading floor. And he is chairman of Royal Mail. In addition, he is a dear friend and chairman of my charitable appeal this year, Pitch Perfect, a partnership between the London Symphony Orchestra and the Cricket Foundation, which is raising money to get sport and music into schools in many of London's disadvantaged boroughs. So, Master, it is very kind of you and your company to have given me the cheque this evening as a contribution. It is greatly appreciated. Donald, I am looking forward to the lecture, but sadly, because of pressures, I will have to leave before the juicy part, the Q&A. And I'm sure you'll be kept very busy with this knowledgeable crowd. However, Donald, flush with the success following Reading's victory last night, I'm sure that won't worry you too much. And now may I invite you to come and take over at the lectern. Thank you.
Master, Wardens, my Lord Mayor, my Lords, Aldermen, Sheriffs, ladies and gentlemen. After that last remark, Lord Mayor, I'm inclined just to say boing, boing. What a great honour to be invited to deliver the Tacitus lecture in front of such a distinguished audience. Thank you for the invitation. When John Adams gave a lecture in front of a similarly distinguished audience, he remarked that he had never known such an intellect gathered in one room since his friend Thomas Jefferson had dined alone. He would not, of course, have said that today. When you asked me for a title some months ago, I chose Threats from a Breakdown in Trust. But after reading and thinking around this subject, I concluded that I would have been wiser to entitle the lecture Breakdown in Trust ? So tonight, I would like to explore what trust is, distinguish it from what we say it is, and talk about our own responsibilities in sustaining trust. But let me begin by reading the following. A shocking crime was committed on the unscrupulous initiative of few individuals, with the blessing of more and amid the passive acquiescence of all. Let me do it again. A shocking crime was committed on the unscrupulous initiative of few individuals, with the blessing of more and amid the passive acquiescence of all. Now, these are not the words of the inestimable Gillian Tett on the recent financial crisis, but of Publius Cornelius Tacitus, after whom your annual lecture takes its name. He, of course, was referring to ancient Rome rather than modern London. It is, however, a description that many would endorse as a fair description of the events now increasingly characterized as the financial crisis. One that gets confused, perhaps sometimes conveniently, with the consequences of the underlying economic